Hey. Favorite girl.
All right. Let's get seated.
I'm seated.
You're seated. I know. There's others.
Big crowd today, guys.
I know. All right. Good morning.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
Good morning. Is everyone awake? Had their coffee, raring to go?
Of course.
Of course. All right. Well, you know what? Kudos to everyone for showing up. Like Andy said, it is Mother's Day weekend. Probably had a busy week, so give yourselves a round of applause for showing up this morning. Good job. Well, you know what? I think our company is pretty amazing. Who would agree with me?
I agree.
You agree? All right. Well, I want to know what makes our company stand out and makes us so different from everyone else.
Choice.
Choice.
Yes.
Susan had some great ones. What makes our company so different and stand out, Susan?
Great system.
Great system.
Leading.
Okay.
The leadership?
Leadership.
Leverage.
Do you think Andy's a good leader?
Yep.
Yay!
Yeah. What about Lam and Lena?
Yeah.
They're not here, but we're giving them a round of applause. Pretty awesome. Yes, Henry.
The opportunity that we offer.
Opportunity. Is our opportunity different than a lot of the companies out there?
Yes.
Majority of the companies out there? Why is it so different and unique? Donald.
It's the business model, I'm not sure what team.
The team business model? Okay, Tim.
Diverse force. Diversity.
What does that mean?
Ooh, it means a lot of things.
The diverse force.
There are a lot of
Different backgrounds.
Different backgrounds. How many of you thought that you would be here last year?
Nope.
Was this your vision a year ago? Who's new? Who's under a year? Did you see yourself here a year ago?
No.
Do you see yourself leaving now?
Go.
Okay. Do you see how that mindset instantly changed? And how did it change? What made the change for you?
saw the opportunity,
Mhm.
saw the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the freedom. Erica, what did you see that changed your mindset?
The choices we have to make to have a better life.
Uh-huh. Better
And
life?
the leadership, the systems have.
Okay. What about on the product side? What do we do that's so unique for our clients?
Love the fact you're actually helping people benefit them for their life.
Anyone else?
And multiple products. So we provide them a variety, variation.
Variation. So do we stamp our clients? Do we stamp our clients? Is one shoe fit all?
No.
No.
Definitely not. What about these big players? The bigger companies? Can the average person get in their door?
No.
No.
The
So
high minimum to get into most of these
that's right.
securities.
So Paul, you're new. Started on Thursday. Are you seeing these things already in this company?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty cool. So we have something that's so unique, so diverse, sets us apart from all these companies out there. We have a word that we need to spread. There are people waiting for this opportunity. I know when I sat down with Andy and Tim had talked to me about sitting down with Andy and Mark, I saw the opportunity right away, and I knew that I needed it. Right?
Right.
I knew that I desired it.
Yep.
So we've got to get out there and we've got to reach more people, because how many financial advisors do we need right now?
Like 200,000.
right? There's a
Follow the flip chart, guys. Still duplication.
So is there a high need for what we do?
Yes.
Okay. Are the majority of people in, if you look at the flip chart, are they in family A or family B? A. So let's get those families transferred from A to B, right? Let's spread this message, because all of us here in this room, we believe in this message, right?
Yes.
And I think that people can see, they can feel, they can sense when you believe in this.
That's right.
And that's what attracts people. That's what attracts people to the opportunity, and that's what attracts clients. Okay? So let's get out there and let's continue to spread this amazing message, because we have a huge market, a bunch of people that really can use us, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so let's do some recognition for the week. So in the last 7 days, who has sat kneecap to kneecap with the client or a new team member? All right, very good. Dave?
3 one-on-ones, a KTP, and 2 apps.
Woo! All right, and Tim?
Just two first appointments.
Woo, good job. And Fred?
2 one-on-one.
Awesome. Good.
5 first appointments.
5 first appointments. All right. Well, is it okay if I bring up Dave?
Yeah.
Dave, would you come up and share with us?
So embarrassed.
Oh, come on.
Just had to throw it out there.
Will you tell our team what you're doing and how you're doing it, and share with us for 30 seconds?
Sure.
Wonderful.
Thank you. You know what I love about our business is we have a good foundation of rock solid leaders, you know, starting with Andy and Lom and David Lynn. And I hear the same thing, the duplication, follow the system manual. So I actually went out and read the system manual all the way through, like 3 or 4 times. And, you know, just over and over, I go, wow, I never saw that before. And then I applied it. So just going out and talking to people, don't talk too much, you know, intrigue them. Because Mom told me one time, you know, don't tell them, give them the whole movie. And I found that to be so true. They say, you know, oh, I've already seen that movie, and they say no. So when we intrigue them with just, what's that called?
Trailer.
A trailer.
Yeah.
Give them a trailer, and they go, man, I still don't know what you do. I go, right on.
Good job. I think you really touched on some key things. It's the power of duplication, okay? You've got to have a system that can easily be taught from one person to another, and it's consistent from every person that you sit down with. It needs to be duplicatable. And I think also very true is you want to get them hooked. You don't want to give them the whole story. You want to get them hooked and get them here, right? So great job, Dave. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, in the last 7 days, who has brought on a new business partner? Please stand up. All right. Excellent. All right, Tim.
Actually, just got one right now in the room. So.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations.
Well, I signed up. Not in the room. But.
And Andy?
I got one.
Awesome. All
Proclaim it.
right. Tim, why don't you come on up and tell us about your...
Oh my goodness. Well, Andy's just as good.
I know.
Andy, come up here together.
Actually, Andy, why don't you come up
together. Anyways, our team is shooting for BBC 40 again. So every month we're going for BBC 40, BBC 40, BBC 40. It's a big number. We were about halfway there last month, but we're going to keep fighting for it. So I'm pushing the inches, and eventually we'll hit those milestones and we'll get there. So that's
Wonderful. Good job. Good job. Awesome. Good. So BBC 40, so that's new associates. Paul, I know you're new. So sometimes it's BBC 10, 20, 40, you know, so we set our goals for our team. We set 40 for this month, just so you know what that means. Okay, in the last 7 days, who has been studying or has scheduled their exam or has taken their exam? Please stand up. All right. Good job. All right, Eric, where are you at and when are you taking it?
I'm studying it still, and I'm going to be taking it on Wednesday.
Wednesday! Alright! Good job, Erica.
Passionate on Wednesday. All right.
So, speaking on behalf of my teammate Ashley, who's back home in Oregon and now visiting her family, but
Okay.
she's scheduling her test for the 21st of May.
Wonderful! That's great.
Hands up for the team.
I love that. Good job.
Always.
And Susan.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Good job.
I'll be waiting outside with balloons and hearts and.
Yeah. So there's a lot of money to be made in this business, but what do you have to have in order to make money?
License.
You gotta have a license. So let's get out there, let's get licensed, let's finish for our new people, let's finish your training appointments. Make sure you're being coachable, make sure you're being committed, and let's get you making some money, all right?
Yes.
Yes, exciting. So now we're going to bring up our wonderful and fabulous Senior Marketing Director who's going to be doing our general training today. Can we give him a round of applause?
Yeah. All right. That's our jacket.
Did I do a great job?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
let's give it up, right? So, I wanna have a special recognition, right? T.S. stay over. I wanna have a special recognition. As you guys know, tomorrow's Mother's Day, right?
Right.
So those of you guys who are mothers in the room, please stand up. Right?
I'm joking.
You have multiple roles, right?
Oh, right.
So yeah, so appreciate you guys. I know that this is these are the champions in our business. Just so you guys know, right? Because they have all of the reason not to be here, but they're still here, right?
Right.
And then you guys too, obviously, because in the business, first of all, like give them a round of applause. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Hope you guys have some plan, right? You guys. So, because I have that this weekend is gonna be my mom, right, my sister, and then my wife coming up, right? So I gotta before the baby come out, still included her in the Mother's
Oh, you
Day,
better.
right? So, right? So, but then the thing is,
Days away.
what's that?
It's only
Days away, right? Right. So hours away, right? So the thing is, I was sharing with everybody today in terms of showing up in the days that you don't feel like it, in the days that a lot of people are making excuses, right? I was sharing with the pregame group today is the book about that I'm reading, and I think that one of the things that we haven't stressed enough, that we need to stress more, that you guys need to pay more attention, is in terms of personal development, right? And then I know that the time that when my business start taking off is the time that I read the most books, right? So ask yourself right now, what kind of books are you reading right now, right? So right now I'm reading a book called Slight Edge, right? That's not big facts, right? Slight Edge by a guy named Jeff Olson, right? So he's talking about the margin between success and failure is so small that most people can't distinguish, right? In terms of the margin for success is so small that most people miss it, and that's why they fail. It makes sense? And so the thing is, like, for days like this, until in time where there's a lot of excuses that can be made, right? There's a lot of reason you cannot be here, but you guys are here, and that's why the reason why you guys are doing well in this business. And I know that the people that I've been watching along the line, right? The people that stick around, that make it big in this business, are the people that consistently show up, whether or not they feel like it, right? And it's just like if you guys are fit. The people that actually consistently showing up to the gym, whether or not you like it, are the people that are going to be successful. So ask yourself this question: what kind of books are you reading, and make a decision to actually pick up a good book in the next 3 to 4 months, because that's going to be changing your business, right? So it's going to be something that I want to share with you guys. So I'm going to go into today. We're going to train you guys on a topic where I think that's very important, that can make you guys a lot of money if you pay attention to it, right? Because one of the things is, this is one of the area where a lot of money is there to be made, right? And then there's like a gold mine right there, right? The thing is that you need to pick up your skill to go there and pick some gold for yourself, right? So today I'm going to share with you guys the product in terms of how to roll over, how to do an annuities, right? And go into a little bit more details in terms of how the annuities work. And for some of the newer people, this might be a little advanced for you, but don't get discouraged, okay? If you don't understand, it's totally normal, right? Because some of the thing is I want to keep this simple, but at the same time, toward the end, I'm going to open for some Q&A, right? But the thing is that if you guys are brand new, I want you to know that it's normal to be a little bit confused, right? Because when I get started in the business, I was confused for a few months, right? So, but then when you consistently show up, the confusion is going to become a lot more clearer, and then that's when you pick up the skill, and that's when you're going to get good. Okay.
Right.
So let's get into that. Can you? This might not be advanced for some of you guys, though. Michael, can you get me a clicker from the corporate over here? Or Maru? All right. Before we get started, when we're getting ready, can you guys bring out a piece of paper right now? Bring out a piece of paper right now. Thank you. Get a piece of paper out right now. Right? Especially people on my team, right? Get a piece of paper out right now, right? So I'll give you guys about 3 minutes to write down 5 people that are over the age of 50. Write down. 5 people are over the age of 50 that you know. The people that not already signed up in the business.
No K2Ps yet, right?
No K2P yet. Good? Everybody have it? Some more time. Anybody need more time?
No.
Good? Everybody good? All right. So hold on to that list, right? So hold on to that list. We're going to be collecting it at the end of the training, right? And then the thing is, after this training, you're going to look at those people, the people that you just wrote their name down. You're going to make an effort to actually start talking to them after this training, because these are the people that need what we're going to be talking about, in a little bit, right? So there's actually 3 phases of retirement planning, right? So today class is can you hit the light? It's Annuity 101, right? So who actually? Well, that's good. So who actually, we heard the word annuity before, right?
Yeah.
And then some of us, some people, they actually heard of the word annuity and they automatically turned up, right? Because of the preconceived notion of what annuity was in the past, right? So just so you guys know that, an annuity is something that's very beneficial. I mean, things are created and exist for the right reason. That makes sense? If there's no benefit for a product, then that product would not exist for 50, 100 years. Is that right? Right. So every product was created for a reason, and instead of just put a bad label on every product and then just kind of have a bad label and that product is never good, then you gotta find out where the product actually fit in, right? Where the product is gonna benefit, what kind of people is gonna be beneficial from the product. Obviously, not every product is gonna fit everybody's need and objective, right? So you gotta find out what kind of people that fit into the needs of the product, and then the product can actually provide. And so we're going to explore a little bit more in terms of annuities right now, and what kind of people actually need this kind of products, and also, you know, annuities kind of change over time as well. So the people that tell you that annuity is bad and things like that, they are probably have that kind of idea from like 30, 40 years ago, right? Because product changes over time, just so you guys know, just like cell phone or just like TV, right? TV nowadays, if you say that, you know, black and white TV is not good, is actually a correct statement. But the thing is, right now, there's actually different types of TV now. You know what I'm saying? So now there are a lot of people that are just labeling annuity like a black and white TV, right? Because the kind of annuity that they know is like the black and white TV that the annuity that actually exists 30, 40 years ago. They don't know the new annuities that actually the industry evolved over time to make the product actually better, right? And then the thing is, annuity product change over time. I mean, products change every single year, just so you guys know, right? And so product get better and better and better every single year. And so to talk about one product is bad based on the perception 30, 40 years ago is not fair, right? And so let's talk about 3 phases of retirement planning, right? Because everybody here, like let's say just in this room, there's a lot of people within a different age group, yes or no? Yes. Right? There's a lot of people within a different age group. And the thing is that everybody, they actually fit into different phases of retirement planning, right? So first of all, there's 3 phases of retirement planning, right? So there's the first phase called accumulation phase. These are the people that are between 20 and 40 years old. I would say 20 to like 40, 45 years old, depending on your risk tolerance, right? So it's called accumulation phase, right? That's when you're actually saving for your retirement. This is the time that you start to save, right? And you start building a portfolio and you're planning according to goals. So this is the time that you just get your first job, right? You start participating in your 401k and participating into different types of retirement, right? So it's called accumulation phase. And you see the curve here is a little bit more aggressive, right? So that means in this phase, people tend to be a little bit more aggressive, right? Because now when you're in this phase, you have a little bit longer time horizon. From the time that you're here to the time that you're here is a long time. It's about 40 years, right? So what happens when you have a long time? There's a word called time horizon, right? So I want you guys to write down some of this lingo, financial lingo, so that, and then start using it. When you get familiarized with some of this lingo and you go and talk to client, you sound a little bit more financially educated, right? So write this word down. Time horizon. What does time horizon mean? Time horizon means that the time that you have for you to invest in certain investment, right? So let's say if you're 20 years old, your time horizon is pretty long. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. And then there's a second phase called preservation phase. So people in the accumulation phase, their characteristic is that because the fact that they have a longer time horizon, they tend to be a little bit more aggressive. Why? Because they can weather the up and down of the market, right? Because the market over a long period of time, if you look at the S&P 500, over a long period of time, is still up. You know what I'm saying? Like within like over 30, 40, 50 years, the market tend to be up, right? So these people, they can actually weather the temporary, up and down the market, right? And then, now the next phase is called the preservation phase, preserving phase, right? Preserving or preservation phase, right? So these are the people that are between 45 to 65 years old, right? These are the people that already have some money in their 401k. That's already accumulated through this time. They're already aggressive, a little bit more aggressive, take a little bit more risk. So they actually build from nothing until now they start having something in their 401k, right? Or their retirement plan, right? So now these people between 45 to 65, they're actually in the transition phase called a pre-retirement phase, right? So these people, they're preparing for retirement, final stage of accumulation, right? Especially the people that are between 55 and 65 years old. That's the reason why I want you guys to write down the people that's 50 years old and above, right? Because the people that are 50 years old and above, more than likely they're in the transition phase. So what's some of the things that people are thinking when they're in the transition phase? When people are in the transition phase, what they're thinking is that, okay, my time horizon is not as long anymore, right? So now, instead of being very aggressive in my investment, safety is more important than growth for a lot of people, right? I mean, obviously depend on the people, but for a lot of people, safety is a little bit more important than growth. They rather have a little bit less rate of return, but at the same time a little bit safer investment, rather than, you know, like very risky investment, they can actually get more. You guys can agree with that?
Yeah.
Right? So people that actually, because the thing is this, if you're actually sitting down with a client, you gotta actually get into their head in terms of understanding what they need, right? Because if you actually understand the client's needs and you actually provide them what they need, then there would not be any reason why they would not buy from you. That makes sense? Right? So it's all about understanding what the client's needs and because, for example, if you have a restaurant and the client go into your restaurant and then you're serving something that you're serving them water when they're not thirsty, do they want to drink your water? No, right? So you got to understand what the client's need is so that you can actually fulfill their need. That's how you actually can close the business, right? And then the next phase is called a distribution phase. This is when people are actually 65 plus, right? So withdrawal is called a withdrawal phase, right? In the retirement. So in this phase, people are actually living their retirement. So definitely in this phase, a lot of people, their concern is, number one, how do they protect what they have? Number two, how is it that they can actually make the money last during their retirement?
Another
Make sense?
career.
Right? It might be another career as well. So this is 3 phases of retirement. So when you look at your client, right? So when you go out to the marketplace and you talk to your client, there's going to be a different types of client that fit into different phase of retirement. And when different people fit into different phase of retirement, then you know what to provide them in terms of products. Right? So there's some concern during the preservation phase. So we're going to focus on not the people in the accumulation phase, but we're talking about these 2 types of people, the transition phase and the withdrawal phase, right? So we're talking about the people that 40, 45 and above in terms of people preserving their money and actually looking to distribute their money, right? So concerns during the preservation phase. You have to understand people's problem because you guys get paid big money. Let me ask you this. What do you think you guys get paid big money for?
To know the solution.
To know the solution, exactly, right? To solve problem, right? We're like every time people get paid in the marketplace because they solve some kind of problem. That makes sense? And so now you have to look into like a retirement problem out there in the marketplace, right? So people now they save money in their accumulation phase, and then they have a preservation phase, and then now what are some of the things that they're concerning about? Because if you understand people's concern and you can actually give them a solution, then you can actually close business, right? So there's 3 concerns. There's 3 concerns during the preservation phase. Number 1 is called a market risk, right? So what is market risk? You want to write this down too because there's some of the financial terms. Like if you go to financial school, like major in finance, they'll teach you on some of this stuff, right? Market risk. What is market risk? Market risk is risk that tied to the market's performance, right? Many people in the preservation phase cannot afford market risk, right? For example, these are the people, we're talking people that 50 years old and above, right? Now we're looking at, they only have about 10, 15 years left before they actually retire. And when they actually, in that preservation phase, a lot of people cannot afford to lose their money, right? Because their time horizon is a little bit shorter, right? From 40 years, now they only have 10, 15 years. What happens if they lose half of their money, then they don't have enough time to bounce back in the market, right?
Right.
So shorter time horizon, increased market volatility, right? So market volatility is the swing in the market, the up and down in the market, right? So the unpredictability in the market. So the thing is that with a shorter time horizon and the increased market volatility, a lot of people, they cannot afford market risk, right? And historical performance, and especially in the last, I say in the last 15 years, 15, 18 years in the US, the stock market has been very volatile, meaning that it's very unpredictable, it's very up and down, right? Right. So in the past, there's something called a buy and hold strategy. How many of you guys heard of the buy and hold strategy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And some of you guys, some of the client that you talk to, they're talking about the buy and hold strategy. What is buy and hold strategy is that you buy a stock or you buy a mutual fund, you just buy something in the market, right? And then you just hold on to it. You just don't really care about the market, right? Don't really worry about the market, just buy it and hold it long enough, you get to where you want to be, right? That worked in the past, right? Buy and hold strategy worked in the past. And now, when we have time, I'll show you some of the market, some of the market statistics as well, right? Actually, I can show you right now. So you can actually pull some of this up with your client, right? Okay, so let's say you can show people that buy and hold strategy. When people talk to you about buy and hold strategy, you gotta know, number one, you gotta know what it is, right? Because if you're gonna be dealing with people with a lot of money, right? People that have $500,000, $1 million, couple $1 million or more, they know their financial term, right? So in turn, you gotta know yourself as well. And then the thing is, they're gonna talk about buy and hold strategy, and you're gonna explain to them like this, right? You can go to Google/finance. Right, you guys know Google/finance. This is public information, and you gotta understand what is the market is, what's the index is, right? So let's say the two major index that we're looking for is Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500, right? So when people talk about the market, what are they talking about? They're talking about these different indexes, right? They talk about Dow Jones, they talk about S&P 500, they talk about Nasdaq, right, and Russell 2000, right? So let's look at S&P 500. So you look at S&P 500, right? You can go to this chart, go to max, right? This is the max that they can show. They changed this.
I think you gotta expand the thing on the bottom. That arrow on the, oh no, I don't know.
No.
That thing.
Actually, they used to be able to show longer. Yeah. Anyway, so there we go. S&P 500 90 years historical chart.
Wow.
Right.
Right there.
Look at that.
Really? 47. Oh, it is before 27 years.
I remember 1930 well.
Well, S&P 500 used to be like Google/finance. They used to be able to show 20 years of.
Extended.
So if you look at here's I'm gonna share you guys a link when you do some research. So if you look at 1930 to about 2000, right? The market is all the way up.
Yeah.
Right? And if you look at the last 10 years, you look at the last, this is like 20 years, right? The last 20 years. So you see a lot of volatility, right? If you actually go from 1930 to about 2000, the market is all the way up, right? So buy and hold strategy worked in the past, right? People that actually did buy and hold strategy, actually they benefited in the past. But within this area, from 2000 to about 2010, it's called the lost decade.
Collapse.
You see that? Right? With the two collapse in 2001 and then 2008, right? And so the last, from 2000 to 2010, that's called the lost decades. So what that means in this decade, if you put your money in the S&P 500, you would come out less than what you come in with. Make sense? And so that's called volatility in the market. So increased volatility in the market. Historical performance in the past, buy and hold strategy worked. But in the last decade, 2000 to 2010, right, things doesn't work the same way anymore, right? And then there's more increased volatility in the future as well. Average annualized return from 2000 to 2010 It's negative 1.25% in the S&P 500. What that means is in 2000, you put $100 in the S&P 500. In 2010, you have 97.75, right? 98.75.
Right.
98.75, right? So you ended up less than what, but then you lose 10 years. That makes sense?
Yeah.
You don't lose money, you lose a little bit money, but you lose that 10 years of time, right? So the thing is this, what if the 10 years after that look the same as this last decade? Right? Then because people, they only have 4 decades in their life in terms of to accumulate money, right? And 1 decade is already look like this. What happened? Can they afford 2-3 decades like that? No, they can't, right? So this could actually happen in the future as well, right? And then secondly, that the thing is we talk about is also in terms of.
Can you go back just one real quick? Thanks. All right, good.
Yeah, and so impact of losses, right? Because when you're actually in the market, you have to understand that there's a big impact of losses, right? In terms of the more you lose, the more you have to gain to get back even, right? So for example, most people, they think that if they lose 10%, they gain 10%, they go back to where they were before, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case, right? So this chart actually shows you the big impact of losses in terms of if you lose 10% in the market, you have to gain 11% to break even, right? If you lose 20% in the market, you have to gain 25% to break even. 30%, you have to gain 43%. If you lose 50%, you have to gain 100% to break even, right? If you lose 80% in the market, you have to gain 400% to break even. If you lose 90%, you have to gain 900% to break even, to barely get back to where you were before, right? So in 2008, most people, they were here, right? Between 50%, right? So what that means is they have to gain 67 to 100% to barely get back to where they were before, right? And then the thing is, how do you think the market does the year after? I mean, when's the last time the market does 67 or 100% in 1 year? Never, right? So what that means is, but you can see 50% drop in 1 year, yes or no? You can see 50% drop in 1 year, but you barely see a 50% gain in 1 year. But the thing is, if you drop 50%, then you have to gain 100%. What that means is that if you lose a little money, you have to wait a little bit longer for you to actually barely get back to where you were before, right? So you constantly, if you're not protecting yourself against losses, then you're constantly playing catch up. And then market risk also when you're in the market, when I'm talking about when you are in the market, meaning that you are buying stock, bond, mutual fund, and things like that, right? So there's something called fees, right? So a lot of your clients, they actually are not aware of certain different types of fees that they're paying, right? So what kind of fees are you paying? Do you know that your regular 401k have actually fees? Yes. How many of people have 401k before, right? Did you know that you have fees in different in your 401k, right? A lot of people, statistics show that a lot of people, they think that their 401k is free, but it's not. Does that make sense? So you have to actually educate them on some of this stuff, right? You gotta ask them, hey, do you know that your regular 401k actually have fees, right? 7 out of 10 workers did not know they paid 401k fees. Right? So most people, when they own a 401k, they did not know that they have to, there's actually fee associated with that. Most people, they think that, hey, you know what, 401k is provided by my work, my company, so my company pay for it. That's not true, right? So statistics show that 7 out of 10 workers, they did not know that, right? So what kind of fees are we talking about, right? You're talking about admin fees, you're talking about investment fees, right? So investment fee, there's something called expense ratio. Write this down. It's called expense ratio. So when your client gives you a statement, a 401k statement, you know what to look for, right? You know what kind of questions to ask, right? Admin fee is pretty much, you know, like the fee that the company have to pay for the administration, right? And then secondly is there's the investment fees. Each and every mutual fund that you buy, there's something called expense ratio. Because the people that manage that mutual fund, they have to make money. That makes sense? So depending on the fund that you you actually pick, then you're gonna have different types of investment fee or expense ratio. Expense ratio, you can see it's ranging between 0.1% to like 1.7%, right? So there's something called basis point, right? So I'm showing you guys. I'm gonna show you guys some of the industry terms so that you understand. So that you, because we're committed to be a professional, right? So obviously along the way, you guys gotta understand certain. It's okay. So along the way, you gotta understand certain term, right? So there's something called expense ratio. This is investment fee. There's something called expense ratio, right? So usually this is in percentage, right? So for example, your expense ratio is 0.5%. Okay. So what that means is, let's say you have $100,000 in that mutual fund. Every single year, they charge you 0.5% of that amount for that particular mutual fund. That make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So 0.5% of that is like $500.
Yeah.
$500 every year. And then let's say in the future your 100,000 become $500,000. This fee also goes up as well because it's just a percentage. That makes sense? And then sometimes there's another term that they call it as well. It's called basis point. You guys heard of basis point? Basis point. So if you heard of it, it's good. If you guys haven't heard of it, get used to it, right? So basis point is, let's say 0.01% is one basis point, right? So 0.5%, this is 50 basis point, right?
Right.
So it's like you ask them, hey, how much you charge for a mutual fund, right? They say 50 basis point. You know that's 0.5%, right? So you're not lost. You're not like, what is that, right?
Like
so,
a theme charge is 1 point, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 100 basis point.
Yeah.
Right. So it's this is 50 basis point or 85 basis point, right? So that's the industry term for this, right? So investment fees is one of the big fees as well. And so when the client gives you a 401k statement, then you know what to look for, right? Because of expense ratio. And then there's service fees as well, right? And then average, all of this combined, there's something called a 12B1 fee as well. 12B1 fee, right? 12B1 fee is marketing fees, right? So all of this average about 1 to 3% a year. It's fair for, it's actually pretty normal for a 401k plan to have about between 1 to 2% fees every single year, right?
Andy, 12B what fee?
12B1 fee.
That's the service fee?
12B-1.
Marketing.
12B-1 fee. 12B-1 fee.
That's the service fee?
Marketing.
It's called a marketing fee.
Marketing.
You can actually Google that. So this is one of the, actually, like you can actually Google 12B1 fee. So 12B1 fee is one of the marketing and like for example, like all of this mutual fund company, they actually have to do marketing for their own, right? So they actually can hide some of the fee in the 12B1 fee as well, right? So
all of these fees are hidden.
well, some of them can be hidden in the 12B1 fee, right? Because when you get a statement from the client, it's not going to spell out all of these fees in one sheet. You got to actually dig and look for it. You know what I'm saying? And so, but this is some of the guidelines that you know what to ask for, right? So number one is, what is your admin fee? Number two, the investment fee is one of the highest fees in your 401k, right? And so there's something called the expense ratio, right? So in the 401k statement, you're gonna actually have different expense ratio. And then depending on the fund, you can actually look what kind of funds your client, they're gonna give you a list of all the funds, right? And then your client is gonna pick some of those funds. And so you gotta match it, right? For example, like the client has Fund A, how much do they charge? That makes sense? And then there's something called a targeted date fund right now. Targeted date fund. Targeted date fund. If your client's in that fund, then more than likely they're paying quite a bit of money, right? Targeted date fund is charging usually between 80 basis point to 150 basis point, right? So it's pretty hefty, and a lot of 401k, because I deal with some of the people or some of my clients show my statement. Some company, if you don't choose what kind of funds you're in, they automatically put you in a targeted date fund.
Dang.
What is a targeted date fund? For example, let's say, Tim, you are, let's say, 35 right now, right? You're gonna be retired in the next 30 years, right? So 30 years is 2048, right? So there's gonna be a targeted date fund, 2048, right? You're gonna be in that fund because that's when you're gonna plan to retire, right? So what they do is they base on your age, they actually adjust your risk tolerance along the way.
Wow.
Make sense? But then they're gonna charge you extra for it, where you can actually do that by yourself too.
Right.
You know? And so that's another thing to look for, right? So that's market risk, right? So questions to ask client is that, what happened if the next 10 years will be just as good or just as bad as the last 10 years? Well, I mean, this was done in around 2011, 2012, right? So 2011, you know, what would happen if the market was just as good in the last 10 years, right? Then what happened if the market go down a few years before your retirement? So you're talking to someone, let's say, 55 years old. You ask them this: when is your retirement date, Fred? Let's say Fred. When is your retirement date? Let's say 65, right?
Yeah.
Let's say right now you're 55.
Yeah,
Let's say right now you're 55, and then you plan to retire at 65, right? What happened if by the time you're 63, the market crashed? Or what happened if 2008 happened when you were 63 years old? What's going to happen to your retirement?
Cut in half.
Well, cut in half. What's going to happen to it? How would you retire?
Bread and water.
You can't retire, right? So you want to ask them that kind of question to get them to do to tell you that. How long do you have to wait to get back to the original investment amount if the market crashes? So, for example, you know, like people in 2008 that lost money, right?
Yes.
Right. How long do you see them take to actually get back to where they were before? Quite a few years, right? 4 or 5 years.
5 years.
5 years, right? So what happened if you're 65 years old and then the market crashed and you have to wait another 5 years?
Gotta work longer.
You have to work longer, right? How does that make you feel?
Makes her feel bad.
Feel bad, right? Exactly.
When I know somebody that happened to. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Right. So that's the first risk in terms of market risk, right? You got to talk to your client, number one, about market risk. Number two is inflation risk, right? So inflation, obviously you guys know what inflation is, right? So I'm gonna go fast on this. Inflation is defined as a sustained increase in general level of prices for goods and services. So obviously, in short, prices go up all the time, right? If your money is not growing at the same level as the price going up, then you're not losing money, but you're losing the purchasing power, right? And so as inflation rises, every dollar you own buys a smaller percentage of a good or service.
Yeah.
Right? As prices go up and your money is not growing, the same amount of money you can buy less stuff, right? $100 you have right now doesn't buy the same thing $100 would buy 10 years from now. Make sense? Average historical inflation rate was 3.1%, right? So inflation risk, price increase, right? So the cost of living in the U.S. in 1978, so average home income per year is $17,000. It took 1978. This is like 40 years ago, right?
So that's why they had me.
Average
1978.
average cost of a new home at that time was $54,000 in the U.S., right? In California, you can barely buy a home with less than $500,000, right? Average rent was $260, right? Cost of a gallon of gas is 63 cents. Now it's like 463, like 363, right? Average cost of a Chevrolet Nova car, average car at that time was $3,000. Right now, a Honda Civic is like $20,000. Make sense? Right? So inflation, price increase all the time. If your money is not growing at the rate that price is going up, then you're losing purchasing power. I don't even know what a Chevrolet
Yeah.
Nova.
Awesome car, man.
Chevy Nova.
I got some eggs last week at Stater Brothers for 99 cents a dozen. At a 99-cent store.
So eggs still not going up?
Oh, they're going up.
Yeah, they're going up.
All right. So question for people in terms of inflation, right? So question for people in terms of inflation. So what happened if your retirement savings is not growing at least at the inflation rate? This is the kind of question that you need to ask your client. What happened if your retirement saving is not growing at least at the retirement? Because a lot of people, they're scared of the market risk, right? So they want to stay completely away from the market. So I have had clients that they're so scared of the market and volatility, they pull their money out and put it in the bank. And the bank doesn't actually give them any money, right? So what happened, you got to ask them this, what happened if your retirement saving is not growing at least at the inflation rate? And you lose your purchasing power, right? Will you be able to sustain your current lifestyle when your purchasing power is decreasing? Sure, you can actually, save some of your money, but at the same time, your lifestyle is going to get worse and worse over time, right? Because you can afford less stuff, right? Your lifestyle won't be the same. So those are two questions that you can ask them. The third risk is longevity risk, right? The third risk is called longevity risk.
Can you go back one
Yeah,
second,
can you
please?
go back to that one for a second?
Just the questions. Thank you.
That one's
Bless
like people
you.
always talk about the fixed income, and you're like, who cares? And then they realize they just have the money in the bank, and it's like losing value.
Yeah, exactly.
Tied to the inflation, and then they're complaining because their Social Security isn't going up fast enough.
Right, exactly.
Cost of living increase.
The thing is, if you're putting your money in a place that's not growing at least at the rate of inflation, expect your lifestyle to get worse and worse every single year, because price is going to go up and you cannot afford the same thing. So you got to shrink your lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
So inflation risk. So we talk about market risk, inflation risk, right? We're going to talk about the next risk. And then, by the way, the people in your list that I just asked you to write down, like 50 years and above, you talk to them about these three risks, they will want to sit down with you. You know why? Because this is something that maybe not in the same order, but 50 years old and above, everybody they're thinking about these three things. Number one, am I going to lose money in the market? Number two, is my money growing fast enough for me to sustain my lifestyle, right? And we're going to talk about the next thing, which is longevity risk. What is longevity risk? Longevity risk arises from longer life expectancy. What that means is we did not have this problem in the past. Now we do, right? Because now people's life expectancy is a little bit longer. People live a little bit longer, right? Increase the chance of outliving retirement saving. In the past, people did not need to worry about this because number one, in the past, right, people actually get a pension or something like that. Number two, people life expectancy in the past is about 65 to 70 years old, just so you guys know, right? Like about 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? You guys can tell me that, right?
I'm still here, so.
Life expectancy.
I have no idea.
Right. I mean, in the past, like right now, if I ask you, your grandpa, your great grandparents, right? How many people at that time, 30 years ago, that still that lived up to 80 years old? You didn't know a lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
right?
No, my family's 95 plus.
Yeah.
Well, stuff like that.
So in the past, in the past, you did not know a lot of people that live up to their 80s, right? Nowadays, you look at Laguna Woods, right? If you go to Laguna Woods, there's a lot of people that live up to like 85, 90 years old, right? So there's life expectancy. So increase the chance of outliving retirement savings, right? So this is, you gotta plan to live longer than you think, right? The probability of today's 60 years old living to various ages, right? So this is the sources, Social Security 2010, so this number is a little bit old, right? It's called mortality table. Insurance company, they base on the mortality table for their expectancy, right? So 65 years old male, if you live up to 65 years old right now, right? The probability that you live up to 80 years old is 61%. the probability of you live up to 85 years old is 41%, right? Probability of you live up to 90 is 22%. So if you're 65 years old, the probability that you live up to 85 years old is almost 50%. It's almost 50% chance you're going to live up to 85 years old if you're 65 years old now, right? 65 years old female, the probability that live up to 85 is more than half, right? 54%. 65 years old survivor, right? That means, you know, like their husband passed away, right? They live even longer. They don't have to hear that one. So the 65 years old survivor, right? Probability of live up to 90 years old is 50%, right? So don't base on this and go do something with your spouse, man.
I've got insurance on him. Just kidding.
No, I read a statistic recently that if you are kind to your wife, you have, it's a married couple, if you're married, same person, 50% chance of living to 95%.
Right.
Both of you.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like general population, right?
Yeah.
So you can see that the probability of people live up to 85 and 90 years old pretty high, right? 50% chance pretty high, right? Half of this room is going to live up to 85 years old, right? So what that means is that most people now they have to plan for a longer retirement, right? And so you guys know Allianz, right? Allianz Life Insurance, right? So they do a survey with the baby boomers, right? They ask them, what do they fear most? What do you fear most? And between age 44 and 75, right? So 39% of them say that they fear death, right? And 61% of them fear that they fear of running out of money. That make sense? So it's from Allianz, right? So most people now, they fear outliving their money more than they fear death. That make sense? Right. So longevity risk, right? Asking certain questions. What kind of question you can ask your client for this? Are you prepared for a longer retirement, right? Because most people, they think that life expectancy is the same as in the past. So you got to give them some statistics, right? Most people now, they live longer. And then secondly, will your personal retirement saving provide you a stream of income for the rest of your life, regardless of longer life expectancy? What does that mean? That means that is your retirement saving is going to guarantee you a longer that you're not going to run out of money when you live longer, right? Because the worst thing that can happen is that you live up to 85 years old and you run out of money. Then what's going to happen? You cannot go back to work anymore. It makes sense?
Live under the bridge.
Yeah, that would be tough too, right? So the thing is, life expectancy, 85 years old, live under a bridge.
It's true, man.
So this is some of the things that you can disturb your clients in terms of what they need to do, right? So the thing is this, I lost my train of thought.
The bridge. Sorry about that.
Anyway, so the three risks that I talk about, right? Let's review it. Number one is what? Market risk. Number two, inflation risk. Number three, longevity risk, right? I can guarantee you that if you check this three things, you go out and you talk to any 50 years old and above, they will be intrigued of sitting down and talking to you, because this is something that they've been thinking in the back of their mind all the time, right? So what are some of the options, right? So there's actually three guarantees that people can get, right? Number one is guaranteed principal protection, right? So what is the solution for these three risks, right? You ask them. So you disturb them with three risks, right? So now what is the solution? That's the problem that most people have, right? How do you solve that problem? What's the solution to that problem, right? So number one, you ask them, hey, do you have a guaranteed principal protection? Right? If you don't have a guaranteed principal protection, what does that mean? That means that if you put your money in the market, does it guarantee that when the market crashes, you still have at least what you have?
No.
They don't, right? Then you don't have that. Number two, does it give you a guaranteed minimum rate of return? Meaning that does your money grow at least at the rate that inflation is growing, right? Without the risk. That makes sense? If it's not growing, I mean, people can say that, hey, I have guaranteed principal protection. I put my money in the bank. Okay, then does it give you guaranteed minimum rate of return? Yes. How much is it? Less than 3%? Then you're not really keeping up. You're still exposing yourself to inflation risk. You don't have a market risk, but you still have inflation risk, and you still have a longevity risk, right? Guaranteed income protection. What does that mean? That means that does your 401k guarantee that you're going to actually have X amount of money for the rest of your life, right? When you actually talk about these 3 risks and this 3 guarantee, right? Most people, they will give you, they'll tell you the product that that they have, and you can actually tell them that they have a problem that needs to be resolved, right? Let's say I asked, like, let's say a 65 years old, like, where do you put your money, right, in terms of retirement? They say that I put my money in the market. Well, then you're actually exposed to a market risk, right? Inflation risk, maybe not, but you might have a longevity risk. What happens if the market crashed during your retirement, right? So if they're in the market, they have a market risk and they might have a longevity risk, right? And then some people say, hey, I have a guaranteed principal protection. I put my money in the bank because I'm want to be very conservative, right? So you don't have a market risk, but now you have a inflation risk, right? Because your money is not growing as inflation. And obviously, then that you have a longevity risk as well, right? So you ask them, do you have these guarantees in your 401k and IRAs?
No.
And they go, no.
Would you want to have it? Would you like to have it?
Yes.
Right? And then you can actually collect some statement, right? If I can show you a way to give you to get you a product that gives you this 3 guarantee, then would you be open to take a look at it for your retirement plan? And that's how you collect the statement. That's the first appointment, right? And then when they give you a statement, here's the thing: when you guys go out to the field and you talk to people all day long and they never give you any statement, that means that you haven't earned their trust yet. That means that don't even look for, like, you're not that close to closing that business. Minimum, the client have to give you a statement. And once you collect a statement, that's more like a 50% of the battle. Yeah. All right. So let's go through this real quick, right? So we're talking about fixed index annuities. So this is one of the solutions to these 3 problems, right? So that's one of the solutions. So fixed index annuities actually fit into what we talk about. Number 1 is we're talking about preservation phase, right? So people in the preservation phase, they can actually have some feature of the fixed index annuity. So the basic fixed index annuity has no fees. There's no fees, right? However, the company is going to have restriction on the growth. So the regular, the normal fixed index annuity product doesn't have any fees, right? Like the nationwide product, a theme product, doesn't have any fees. However, how do the company make money is that they're making money on the restriction on growth that they're going to give you. That makes sense? Because obviously you're not taking any risk. You cannot expect to get the full exposure to the market. That makes sense? So the company, they're absorbing the downside risk for you. Obviously, they're going to cap you on several different things. That make sense?
Right.
Let me draw it out.
So that's the nice thing about the nationwide.
Right. So
No fees.
I'll get to that. So let's say this is 0%, right? This is 0%, right? So the thing is, the company, the fixed index annuity company, they actually guarantee you this 0%, right? But at the same time, they have to make money somehow, right?
Yeah.
So they're actually going to give you certain restriction on growth, and we're going to explore a little bit more on certain restriction on growth. That makes sense? So they got to make money on the upside of whatever they can get in the market, right? So the thing is, this program is safe, right? Give you guaranteed principal protection, right? You can actually customize features depending on your needs. It's called riders, right? So for example, you can actually go into the Honda dealership across the street, right?
Right.
You can buy a base model Honda Civic. That makes sense? Or you can get a fully loaded Honda Civic, right?
Right.
So a car, a regular plain vanilla car, is a basic
Annuity.
index annuity, fixed index annuity, basic product. So this doesn't cost you any fee, but it's gonna have some restriction on growth. And then there's a certain rider that you can add onto it. Let's say your Honda Civic, right? You can actually have a sunroof, you can have navigation and things like that. So fixed index annuities, there's certain rider, there's certain feature that you can actually add onto it with a certain cost that you can actually, like get different enhancement for your products as well. Just like your Honda Civic can be a little bit more comfortable with the power window, right? You don't have to like do this all the time. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I don't think they come with that anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be, right?
I saw
Right.
all
Trucks
that
do.
running around
Right,
somewhere.
huh?
Trucks still do.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was so long ago. Right, so you guys have an idea of the fixed index annuity basic, right?
Yeah.
So fixed index annuity is basically guarantee your downside protection. And then they're gonna restrict you on growth. And we're gonna explore on how they restrict you on growth. And then, however, you can actually have different rider, different feature that you can add onto it. We're gonna explore some of this as well. So how do they accumulation values, right? So basically, how do they? We're talking about the base model Honda Civic, right? So in terms of the plain vanilla, in terms of fixed index annuities, so your growth is going to be measured by different indexes, right? Linked index. So your money is not actually invested in the market, but they're just using the market as a benchmark to find out how much they're going to credit you, right? So the linked indexes is like the S&P 500 that I just showed you,
Yeah.
right? Different companies have more sophisticated index, right? Right, the BNB Paribas multi-asset diversified 5 index, right? So that's like a company called BNB Paribas. It's a pretty big bank in Europe, right? Investment company and things like that. So they actually come out with their own index, right? Or the Janus SG Markets Consensus, right? So certain company, they can actually have access to some of this special index, right? Or nationwide, they have a Zebra, the NYSE Zebra, and also the Mosaic Index, right? Just so you guys know, a regular investor cannot get into a Mosaic Index, even if you have money, right? If you have small money, you can get in there, right? Because some of this fund is more like a institutional fund. And so only big company, only institution can actually participate in some of this fund. And if you're not, if you don't have like 100 million or what are like crazy amount of money, then you cannot participate in some of this fund, right? But with a fixed index annuity, through some of this company like Athene, like Nationwide, like some of this company, you can actually participate in some of these indexes that otherwise you would not even have access to. Is that pretty cool? Right?
Very cool.
And then index strategy. So how does your money grow? So number one, first of all, they link your money into different. They look at the index to determine the performance, right? Secondly, they're going to give you different strategy, right? So for example, the 2 years no cap point to point, right? So so let's say they're going to measure this index. Let's say the BNB Paribas for 2 years. They're going to look at this index for 2 years. And then they're gonna from point to point. Let's say today is what's today?
12.
May 12, right? May 12, 18 to May 12 of 2020, right? So let's say they measure from now to that 2 years from now, and let's say the market is up, right? So how much is up? They're gonna take that number, right? And then they're gonna actually have a 1 year point to point, depending on you choose one of this index strategy, right? Limit apply, right? So they're gonna, how do they cap you? You remember I showed you this, right? You don't have to turn it off.
I won't.
So you see this, right? So how do they limit your cap? How do they limit your performance? Is they're gonna actually give you something called participation rate, or like a cap, or like a monthly cap, right? So let me explain to you what a. Okay. So what is the participation rate? So for example, let's say you choose a BNB Paribas 2 years no cap point to point.
Right.
right? And then with a participation rate, okay?
Right.
So let's say, so you pick one of these combo, let's say a B&B, Paribas, right?
Right.
2 years, point to point, right? Let's say right now is May 18, right? 12, 18, to May 12, 2020, right? So they look at this 2 years, and then they look at this index, and the index go up, let's say 40% in 2 years, right? Let's just say, hypothetically, right? Let's just say, no guarantee on that, right? Let's just say, right, 40%, and they're gonna give you a participation rate of, let's say, 80%, right? So you're gonna, so the index does this. You don't get this. You get 80% of that.
32%. I'm happy.
80% of that is 32%, right? What happened if the market in that 2 years does negative 10%? What do you get?
Zero.
Zero.
You guys see it?
Yeah.
Test
Right.
question.
So -8 plus 10.
Make sense? And then some of this index has been doing pretty well, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is, you have to. They always gonna have a combo between these three, right?
Right.
First of all, you pick your index. It's like you guys go to Mongolian grill, Mongolian whatever, right?
Yeah.
What is your meat? What is your chicken, right? Protein and like vegetable and whatnot, right? Same thing. So you're gonna pick your index, what index you want to be in. You're gonna pick your index strategy, right? And it's gonna be you're gonna obviously come with the index strategy is gonna be having certain limit applied, right? So for example, a lot of 1 year point to point, they give you a cap. What is the cap? Let's say you pick.
You don't get 40.
Let's just say you pick an S&P 500, right?
Right.
And then 1 year point to point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Point to point. And then they give you a cap of, let's say, 5%. Let's just say 5%, right? And then, so they measure the time, right? So let's say after 1 year, the market did, let's say 7%. What do you get?
5%.
You get 5%. Market do negative 10. What do you get?
Zero.
It makes sense? Simple, right? Monthly cap is similar as cap, but they look at them on a monthly level. Make sense?
Don't
Right.
you have to look at your participation rate also right there?
No. Usually, if they give you a participation rate, they might give you a cap or they might not give you a
Okay.
cap. That's why
So there's no participation rate in the example you just did?
this one there's no participation rate, right? Sometimes they give you one of this restriction or combo, So that's what. But this is the basic of fixed index annuity. If you understand this, any new product come out, you can understand it, right? Any product, like all the product work the same way. It just have the same menus. It's just different index, different crediting strategy, different limit. That's about it.
Would you have a participation rate if you're only dealing with one index? Or is the participation rate when you have like two indexes?
Well, so the thing is this. You can actually, let's say your money, right? So let's say your money is 100%, right? You can actually choose, let's say you want to have S&P 500 1 year point to point with a cap. You can choose to put 25% of your money in there. And then you can choose 25% of your money to put in a B&B Paribas 2 years no cap point to point with a participation rate.
Okay.
That makes sense? Just like,
Mix and match.
yeah, mix and match. Like Mongolian grill, like I want, this is my plate, 25% of my plate is chicken, whatever. and then 25% is beef, Mongolian beef, right?
I like that.
Like Panda Express.
The rest
You want a Panda Express, right? orange chicken, whatever, right?
Shrimp.
I'm getting you guys hungry, right?
Shrimp's fine.
I'm thinking about March with ours camp now.
Right. But you guys see what I'm saying, right? This is the basic of fixed index annuities. If you guys understand this, I mean, that's why I pre-framed earlier, right? Some of you guys, I might lose you guys right here, right? But if you guys understand this, any new product come out, you can look at the brochure and you understand how it works right away. That's how I understand. You see what I'm saying? And then on top of this, so this is on the accumulation side, right? In terms of this is the money that is growing, and at the end of the day, you choose to take the money and run. This is the money that you're gonna take and run. Okay? Then let's talk a little bit.
40%.
Right. So, and then there's different rider, right? So for example, there's different riders. One of the riders is called the income rider, right? So your money is growing according to the index, right? But at the same time, there's another feature that you can add on. Remember the navigation in your Honda Civic, or your Mercedes, right? Mercedes comes with navigation, by the way. So Honda Civic's more, right? So fixed index rider, right? So guaranteed rate of return, right? Only for the purpose of calculating income for life, not meant to walk away with a lump sum, right? So I'll explain to you in that. So there's a feature, it's called rider, that goes into it, that you can attach to this program. It's called income rider. This income rider is going to give you a guaranteed growth, but at the same time, not for the purpose of walking away. Like you take that, you take a lump sum and you run. Like that's why I always ask my client, like, do you plan to use this money to buy a Ferrari when you, like, let's say, you know, they have 200,000, right? 300,000. Do you plan to, when you retire, use this money for income for life, or do you want to use this money to buy a Ferrari when you retire and then just be done with it? Because some people do, right? And not recommended, but people do, right? So some fixed index annuity basic rider look like this. So so the red line, this is hypothetical, okay? So let's say the red line is the market, right? S&P 500. You guys can see that? S&P 500, right? Yeah. The green line is like a accumulation side, right? So let's say, remember we talk about which index, how it grow and everything. So when the market grow, you grow with the market, right? When the market drops, you see this? When the market grow, you grow along with the market, but obviously not as high as the red line, right? But when the market drop, you stay flat. You see that? Even with a little gain too.
Index.
Yeah. And then when the market grow, you grow along with the market. Market drop, you stay flat. Grow again, right? Yeah. So this money is a walk away money. You can run, keep this, you can take this and run. Make sense? You take this and run. Make sense? That's a take and run money, right?
It's a good song.
This is the market, right? This is the accumulation. And then there's gonna be a rider. A rider is gonna look like this. So a rider is gonna probably look, the rider is gonna look like this. Because a lot of company, usually the rider looks pretty generous. It's a little tall, I can't. But it looks like
Carlos,
this.
get up there and help.
Okay.
Go up there, right? I can't really.
Like a whoosh.
Yeah. So it's a straight line, but I can't draw it too straight. But the line go like this. The line look like that. The line looks straight up, right? But let's say that amount might be higher than this amount. But they're gonna, let's say if you have a rider, they're gonna take that amount to calculate your income for life, not this amount.
Right.
Make sense? But however, if this amount ended up somehow, some way higher than the guarantee, then they'll bump up your guarantee. Make sense? And they're going to use that amount to calculate your income for life. So that's called an income rider. The income rider is used to calculate your income at that point. Right? So let's explore. We have a few minutes. So you guys understand about it, right? Yeah. A little bit more clear on fixed index annuity? There's only a few moving parts, okay?
No, it's not. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, it's not. So let me show you guys.
I know, man.
Right. So for example, when you go to the provider, they're gonna give you some brochure, right? How do you read the brochure? You know? And so, how do you read the brochure? Let's say there's a Athene, Ascend strategy insert, right? So Athene has, again, we talk about, right? You pick some of these products, right? They already have a combo for you. So let's say there's a 2 years no cap point to point BNB Parabon diversified 5 index, right? Limit apply participation rate. You see that? So you pick one of these strategies. You have 100% of your money. You can put, literally you can choose 25% that, 25% this, 25% that, 25%, depending on your risk. Right? So we're gonna help you, like you as an advisor, you help your client to do that. Let me show you a little bit more. So like the Athene Pro bonus, they give you a rider, okay? So your money grow according to the other one, right? And they give you a rider, it's called an income rider, right? So what percentage of my income base will I get when I start taking lifetime income? So you see, they say income base or accumulated value, whichever is greater. Therefore, somehow, some way, your accumulation values is higher than your income values, then they'll bump up your income values. But if not, then for sure you get an income value, right? So I think Pro bonus, they give you a there's a program right now, Athene Pro 2.0. Right now they give you a bonus of 15% and a guaranteed growth rate of return of 10% for 10 years.
Wow.
15% bonus, guaranteed rate of return, 10% for 10 years.
Simple interest.
Simple interest, right? Simple interest.
Great product. So your money doubles in 10 years.
Simple interest. A little bit more than double.
Yeah, because you had the bonus.
Right? Simple interest, right, for 10 years. So the thing is, so let's say after 10 years, your income become, let's say 100,000 now because of this bonus. Doesn't matter how the accumulated values is doing. It can be 0 for the next 10 years. But your income base is still growing at 15% bonus one time and 10% simple interest for the next 10 years, right? And then you take that, you time your lifetime income withdrawal percentage equal your lifetime income amount, right? So if you look at this is your lifetime income. Let's say 55 years old, you put the money in. And then 65 years old.
It's the mice.
Is that a mice? 55 years old, you put the money in, right? And then 65 years old, you start taking income, right? So whatever the income base is, let's say you put in 100,000, now you have 200,000, then you have 4.4% of that for life. 4.4% of 200,000 is how much?
8,000.
8,000 a year for life.
8,800.
For life, right? Make sense? Joint life withdrawal. If you want to have joint life in terms of, you know, the money paid until the second person pass away, you have to subtract 50 basis point from this. So you only get like 3.9% of that. So it's less, you know. So, make sense? Right? So that's the rider. That's one. That's
$7,800 a year
That's one of the riders.
for life. 7,800 per year for life.
4% of 215,000?
200,000, just times 0.044 is 8,800 per year. But then take off the 0.5%,
Oh.
so it's 3.
Okay, so let's,
7,800 per year.
and you guys can see some of this participation rate too. You know, crediting rate. You know, like I think 2 years no cap, right? 75% participation rate.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
75%. So you know what? So you understand what to look for, right? So you see that there's an income rider, right? Income rider. So this one, the product with no rider, with no income rider is free, right?
Right.
If you just want to put your not losing money, and then when the market go up, you can grow according to the index, then you can actually do it no charge, right? But if you want to add this income rider, is 1% every year, right?
But on this product, you'd have no choice.
Yeah, in this
That-
product you have no choice. Like no, actually in this the Ascend Pro 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rider is not optional.
Well, this one, yeah. The thing is, yeah, the Ascend 10 bonus 2.0 is not. If you want to have a product that just with the regular accumulation, then you would go with different products called the Performance Elite.
Yeah.
Performance Elite 7. Okay. So I want to stop right here because I don't want to confuse more of you guys. Right? This is so let's open up for Q&A for like 5 minutes in terms of what are some of the things that you guys have questions on in terms of what I just talked about. Questions?
So we need to help advise them on how much percentage to put in each index.
Yep. Yep. So basically, you know, what I do is, because you know index come out all the time, right? And so what I do usually is I ask the provider. Right? I ask the provider like, hey, which one do you think is going to be best for the client? You know, in terms of what it's been doing right now. So like the Janus two years cap, right? Like this program was last year, I believe, did like 21%, right? So it's pretty awesome. So the thing is, I asked the provider, hey, based on this, what do you guys recommend me the best mix for my client? So right now they're doing the I believe the 50% on 1 year no cap BNB Paribas, and then the 2 years no cap Janus GS. Right, 50% up there and 50% down. Don't get it. Those are the best two. Make sense? So I would ask the provider for that. Yeah, but obviously you can change it after the you can change it at the end of the term, right? So let's say after 2 years you can change it to a different strategy if you don't like it. But worst case scenario, you're not going to lose money, right? If you have an income rider, then so far a lot of people, they're looking for income, right? A lot of people, their money is in a 401k. They're not looking to take a lump sum and run. They're just looking to have a guaranteed growth for the last 10 years. And then after that, they're going to take that money and then turn that into a pension that pay them for the rest of their life. So this one is on the accumulation side. On the rider side, still growing. Okay. Did I answer your question? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
From time to time, we ask the product provider. So right now, with this program, I believe is a 50% 1 year BNB Paribas, and then 50% 2 years no cap Janus consensus. Yeah. Any other questions? Donald?
Redemption, and if the person chooses to back out, there's going to be some surrender charges.
Yeah.
That might not be all that clear, but that question likely would be asked by any client.
Yeah, right. So obviously this is a long-term program. Okay, it's not a short term. It's not a yeah. It's not yeah. People don't get in, and that's why you always ask the client in terms of the window that they can actually not touch their money, right? And so the thing is, like the surrender charge schedule here is with this program is 12% in the first 3 years, and then it goes down. After 10 years, it's 0. And so if you don't plan to put away, because the thing is, you know, when you fill out an application, they're going to ask you about that too. How long do you plan to keep this annuity, right? If you say 1 year, then it's not for you. They're not going to approve you, right? So that's why suitability is very important, because the client wants it, they have to be approved suitability-wise, right?
Isn't California less than that?
Let me see.
Before you change that, can you?
Well, this is the older brochure, right? So don't quote this brochure, okay? Because
it would go down.
Because this one is still like 10%, no, like 10% bonus and things like that.
Go down a little more. A little more.
Yeah, right here.
Withdrawal charge 8.3 in California.
Yep, right here. 8.3. So this is in a different state. So, and then also they give you a bonus, right? 15% bonus.
Right.
So the vesting schedule, you gotta stay there at least six years for your bonus to be in there.
To earn it.
Yeah, to earn it. Vested. You know. But obviously this is a long-term program, right? However, you have a free withdrawal schedule, 10% per year after the first year. 10% per year, right? So let's say after the first year you want to take out 10% every single year, then you don't have to pay any penalty. This is only applied when you have it more than 10%.
In case of the annuity dies, what happens with that money?
Good question. So that's gonna have to take a little bit more time.
Oh, then I will leave it for next time.
Yes, so I can show. So basically, the short answer to that is that it's gonna be your accumulated value net any withdrawal that you have. But then,
Goes to the beneficiary.
yeah, but the thing is, you know, I have to draw it out for you guys to understand how that works. So your accumulated value minus any withdrawal that you have. Susan?
So when you get to a point and you kept it in and then you're going to pull it out, you know,
After 10
per
years.
year, is that going to be, they take, you know, the amount that you have in there to calculate how much they're going to pull out? Now, what if you live longer than the amount of money that you?
Then they continue to pay you.
They do.
Let's say if you live for the next, let's say 65, you start with taking income, and you live to like 200 years old. Obviously, your money is well gone, right? But the company continue to have to pay you. That's why it's this. You turn your money into like a pension. The company continue to have to back up their promise, continue to pay you for the rest of your life. That's why this is more like called a personal pension. Because right now, most companies, they don't give you a pension anymore. Right. So what do people do? They have to create their own pension, right? So now that's us. That's what we need to do. Because most companies, they don't give people a pension anymore. They give people a 401k. So when people are contributing to a 401k, grow that 401k, and then when they retire, right, now what are some of the things that they need to do to turn that money into a pension for themselves? That's what we do. It's like a pension. Yeah.
But if let's say this person retire at 65, right? So the 401k, he cannot touch his 401k until 65 years old.
59 and a half.
59 and a half.
So at 59 and a half, you pull your 401k and then put into this annuity.
No, don't take it out. What we do is you roll it over.
Yeah,
because you take
right.
it. Yeah.
Roll over. So it's a bit too late, right, for that?
At 65?
No,
or at 59 and a half?
No.
No, actually, you still have a 50, even if you do it at 60, right? You still have 5 years of rider like the growth. Obviously, the longer the better, right? So this is perfect for someone who's 55 looking to take income at 65. It's a perfect scenario, right? But if not, then you know, like 5 years better than nothing, right? And some people they don't do it. They take all the risk until they're 65, and they can do something called immediate annuity. That's 65, they start taking income right away. You can do that too. We have product there. One more question, Kevin.
Taxation, how does that work with this?
Same as you taking money, depend on where the money come from. Let's say the money come from your 401k, it's called qualified money. Then when your money come out, it's regular income for you, because from anywhere, right? If you're not in this program, you take the money from your 401k, it's regular income for you anyways. So it's regular income. If it's coming from like non-qualified, like which means cash and things like that, then you have to pay the gains on that.
What if it's a Roth IRA?
Roth? Roth is no tax.
No, the tax. What about the gains on that you're gonna get within here?
Roth is no tax on gain.
What about the 10% bonus that you get?
That's not taxable either. I mean, if it's Roth, then it's not. But the thing is, if it's a 401k, you understand that a 401k, they only tax you for the amount that you take out. For example, let's say you roll 100,000, right, in the 401k over, and then 10 years later you start taking income. Now your income is 8,000 a year, right? So that 8,000 you have to pay regular income tax on that 8,000. Yeah. Last question.
The 10% or 15% bonus, because it's 10% in the brochure, and then you go 15%. So where?
Yeah, this is the old brochure.
Yeah, where does the 15% come from?
This 15%?
Yeah.
Comes from the theme.
From a
They
theme.
love
Yeah.
you.
It's
Not from me.
They want your money.
No, I mean, how did it come up with 15%?
The number.
They increased it.
Oh, it's a special promotion.
Oh, okay.
It's a special promotion. Certain companies sometimes they want to give out to increase their sales, you know. So it's more incentive for you to do it now, right? So it's that's
Yeah,
what it is.
Global a couple of years ago had the 50%
Yeah.
bonus.
Okay, so we're out of time. So you guys learned a lot today, right?
Yes.
Right? Don't if you guys are brand new, right? Don't get discouraged, right? I mean, as you come, things will get a little bit. But then the first half of this is catered to you, to new people, right? The second half is more for seasoned people as well, right? So let's give Carlos do meeting after meeting, right?
So if you're doing, he's doing it.
Because we're doing meeting every. Let's give Andy a hand. Awesome job, man.
Serious.
Yeah, annuities are really good for you guys to get out there, meet the clients that are in that. Let me have just two people that want to stand up and say, what did you learn today?
Wow.
Somebody ran up. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, the people that we want to target out there, or a lot of the people we want to target out there as far as product goes, are going to be those that are over 50 that are looking for some place to put their 401k money, because we know that most people are putting their money into a 401k to prepare for retirement. It's really not a good retirement plan. So if we can find more of that crowd, we're going to have a lot of people that we can actually cater to for their future.
Awesome. Let's give you a hand. Nice job. Anybody else want to?
Yeah.
What else did you learn?
Well, I learned that if we can talk to them about the risks, the 3 risks,
Uh-huh.
and then we can talk to them about the 3 Gs as well, we can intrigue them just right there, get their interest, maybe at least have a sit down, right?
I love it. Yeah, good stuff, man. All right. So we got convention coming up, right? In less than 2 weeks, the price is going up $50, so it's going to be from $195. Let's everybody stand up who is already got a convention ticket. Just stand up if you've already got a convention ticket. Wow. All right, give yourself a hand. All right. Good job. Go ahead and have a seat. So the convention is going to go up in 2 weeks. It's going up to $245. So be sure you get your ticket within the next 13 days. Momentum Monday is coming up. Has everybody seen on WeChat? You've seen the post on. Okay, how many people have looked at their WeChat today? Yesterday. Okay, yesterday. Everybody look at your WeChat. At least the SMDs are recommending twice a day. I say look at it every 5 minutes. But make sure you, if you can get off on Monday, it's down in Culver City, which is north of the LAX right there.
Yeah.
It's a great location, a little hard to get to, a little hard to get out of. You're going to run into traffic either way. You know why they call it the 405 freeway, right?
4 or 5 hours.
Or, that's a good one. The other one is, you go 4 or 5 miles per hour. So you're going to be up on the 405, so that's good stuff. How many people are planning on going? Okay, I'm going to go.
Momentum, yeah.
Yeah, Momentum Monday.
You don't have a choice.
Okay, Raja DeWalt is over in Pomona at the LA Fairgrounds. It's going to be an awesome awesome time with him. He is a $5 million earner. Used to be a cab owner. You know, had a fleet of cabs. The thing that amazes me is he made this amount of money, you know, in Canada. How cold is it in the winter in Canada? And we think, you know, it's difficult to get out there and get out there in the winter. That guy's doing it. So he will teach you a lot about, you know, simple duplication, how he's done it. I think it's awesome that we go as a team. Of course, the Laughlin Villa contest, we still have a couple more weeks, so keep fighting for it. You know, main trip is 15,000 points and 3 recruits. So that's still, you know, if you're not there yet, you can still get 2 more recruits if you got 1 or if you don't have any. Just press it. Anything else? Elite Circle is ending up, I think, next month. Oh, actually May 26th. So this month, the Elite Circle. Andy's still in Elite Circle. Let's give Andy a hand. Anybody else in Elite Circle too? Oh, man. Stand up if you're still in Elite Circle.
Hey, walk in,
all right, come on up here. Come on up here. All right.
Look at that.
Come on up here. This is awesome. You know, somebody take a picture of these guys, man. We're just going to post it out there as Elite Circle from Team Soulfire and Team
Supernova. Two apiece here.
Supernova, yeah, good stuff, man. I like
Ready?
it.
1, 2, 3.
Let's give them a hand. Awesome.
Wait,
Make sure you fix my wrinkles on my eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it.
Awesome job. Great job. Good job, Fred. All right. Good job, Andy. So that's Elite Circle. They're gonna, you know, be winners because you're getting to speak with, actually getting training from people that have already walked a mile in your shoes, right? They're already making over $500,000 a year, plus, and you know, it goes forever until like 3 in the morning, right? You get a lot of information for what you're paying. So, yeah, other than that, I think I've covered everything. I want to pay attention on the convention registration. If you can only make it 2 days, make sure you go the 8th and the 9th. That's where you get all the training. The gala, they moved it over. I think it's now, you know, on Tuesday. And then Team Conqueror break